We are getting closer to snow, but I think we're still going to be searching for it here. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. Welcome to Snow Search. I'm along with my weather brother here, Sean Sublett from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. And Sean, seems like the more we actually try to get out of winter on the calendar, it does look like it's trying at least to pull us back a little bit.
Yeah, all signs are really starting to point to this idea that March is going to be colder than February, especially here in the Middle Atlantic. We're going to have one of our 2 or 3 warmest Februaries on record. So obviously no snow to speak of here, but there are lots of signals showing that it is going to turn colder. Not brutal, but cold enough to make things interesting in March.
Yeah, I think we have to, when we get into March, always put that asterisk because it might be colder than average in March, but if your average high is 55 degrees and you're 45, you're still probably too warm to snow.
That's a different beast.
That is a different beast. So this is Snow Search. We are searching for winter cold and storms for the week of March the 6th. Again, looking for general trends during this time. We're not going to tell you 4 inches of snow in Richmond, Virginia at Sean's house, although I'm sure he'd love that. But we're just looking for general trends, and it is hosted by Sean and myself. Sean, so what do we have here on this graphic? We're looking at snow so far this season. Give it to us.
Yeah, so to this point of the season, not a surprise, in Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, South Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania. In fact, a lot of Pennsylvania, from the Laurels eastward, even to the Poconos, a little less than we typically have through this part of the season. Anything you see there that is yellow or orange or red, those areas that have done more than a foot of snow so far this season. But these areas in the exceedingly light blue or even green, it's less than an inch so far this season. And again, not that we get a bunch of snow in Virginia, but we've had hardly anything. A lot of places have just had a trace, maybe a tenth of an inch of snow. That's really about the size of it. But as we said at the outset, things are starting to change. We talk about the polar vortex so often, and let's kind of go back through that. That's that big circulation of brutally cold air up at the stratospheric level, all right? And as that thing spins, that's where most of the cold air, the true coldest air in the hemisphere, is bottled up. But as we mentioned last time we had Snow Search, there's this sudden stratospheric warming going on, which kind of disrupts the vortex. And that has kind of begun to take shape. And the result we see now showing up in the computer simulations, the model guidance, is beginning to show how that is going to play out. Now we look at this map here, which is unusual, but we're looking down from the top of the Earth. In the middle of the map is going to be the North Pole. And you see these 2 L's, which is where we have the relatively colder air now breaking apart from the center of the North Pole. So we're going to have these little areas of colder air kind of bleeding away from the North Pole, heading southward down towards the middle latitudes. And again, that's not something that's instantaneous. It takes several days to happen. But there are a lot of signals that once we get past about the 7th, 8th, 9th of March, we're going to be a lot more consistently, as you said, Joe, below normal. And one of the ways we measure this is through those indices that we've been talking about all season long.
Yes, the indices. Yes, we have the NAO, the AO, and the PNA. You guys probably are sleeping at night and dreaming about it because we talk about it every Monday here. But we do look at the indices, and the North Atlantic Oscillation is negative. Now, negative has been a rarity this winter, but when it's negative, what we get is the jet stream, that river of air that separates 2 air masses about 30,000 feet high, where planes fly, to really get amplified. So you kind of look at my hand, sometimes it's just going west to east like this. That's pretty fast moving. The NAO kind of makes it a little more wavy, that jet stream. And the wavier it is, the slower it is, and the more likelihood of colder shots or snow. Now you go to the Arctic Oscillation, which is similar in terms of its impacts. If you're negative, it means one thing. If you're positive, it means another thing. We're kind of in that negative phase here. And, we look at the PNA, it's also negative. Now, this has the opposite effect in terms of impacts. When it's negative, it's actually less likely for eastern U.S. cold. A lot of cold stays in the west. And if you've been, paying attention to maybe one of our Lee Enterprises news websites, you've been seeing how...
California, man. Wow.
That's it. Yeah, California. I mean, we had the San Diego National Weather Service office, which covers some mountains, but also San Diego, issued its first ever blizzard warning for those hills near San Diego here. And snow got pretty close to the valley floor, though I'm always astonished at how it can never make it to the ground. It could snow feet of snow in some of those California hills. And then by the time it gets to Los Angeles, it is just nothing. Anyway, let's get into the longer range pattern as we go into next week. So we're going from the 5th all the way through to 9th. So this is from Sunday until Thursday. Look at that big blue H over Houston. That's been a pretty consistent feature this winter, the southeastern ridge of high pressure. We get a ridge of high pressure, typically means warmer conditions for us. Now, I said it's over Houston. That's still a ridge, of course, and we're going to see some of it, but it's actually a slid a little further west than where it has been over the past 2 months. Usually it's been over Florida or over the Bahamas, a little closer to us in the mid-Atlantic. And just with that nudge westward, it does give us a little bit of wiggle room for troughs of low pressure, typically colder and stormy, to get in a little more favorable spot for us here. So we'll take you through the next couple of days. You see that ridge moving from Houston back to Atlanta here. So now it's peaking over us during Wednesday into Thursday. But notice that L getting pretty close to us. It's over Maine, but it's not going all the way into Canada. It's still relatively close to us on the 9th. So there is kind of 2 shots of storms that I do see. One would be the 5th, that's Sunday into Monday. Another one would be the 9th or so. Now, I use the word storm loosely, right? Because it could be a couple of rain showers or something. But, there's something out there then. And I want to show you this map that I made for the 4th to the 5th. So if you're in Virginia or North Carolina, even West Virginia, it's probably going to be plain rain if you see anything during this time. It's when you get into New Jersey and Pennsylvania where there's rain with some snow possible. And if it's snow, it's going to be light snow. The snow would be more likely a little further to the north here. And I do apologize. I actually wrote March 4th to the 5th. I didn't mean 5th to the 6th for this one. So apologies on that one. Sean, please forgive me on that one.
You are forgiven, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then as we go into the 9th and 10th story, I don't have a map for this, but this does have potential to be a bigger system. But, the general trend is, we're still 10 days out from this. All I can tell you is that there's a storm around during that time frame. If the center of the low stays to our north, we're going to be wet. If it stays to our south or to our east, better chance of being white, wintry white.
Yes.
With that snow.
As I like to say, Joe, there's a disturbance in the force around that time because that's when that colder air looks like it's going to start to become a little more consistent in eastern North America. And we get the storms to track a little farther southward than we have for most of the winter. I'm not saying that is our chance. I'm not saying that is our last chance, but the window for snow is closing fast here in the Mid-Atlantic. So those are the times, as you alluded to, that I'm really kind of keying in on as we get into March.
Yeah. And just to wrap it up here, so we're talking about, the potential as we go into next week for 2 systems here. The 4th, 5th, 6th, really 5th and 6th is going to be weak. Could be just rain showers, a little bit of snow perhaps in my home market of Atlantic City, maybe Pennsylvania as well. The later in the week, as Sean said, disturbance in the force. We're eyeing it. It could be a big rainmaker with some wind and coastal flooding. Hey, maybe some areas see snow. Just too early to be told on that. We don't have a strong hunch one way or another. If we did, we'd tell you. And then generally, as we go into next week, more seasonable weather. But remember, we're climbing temperatures fast. So seasonable, for me in New Jersey, we're talking about, mid 40s at the Jersey Shore, upper 40s to around 50 inland. Down by you, Sean, what do we have for average highs next week in Richmond and getting into North Carolina?
Yeah, our normal highs this time of year are now creeping in the mid 50s. The normal lows right around the freezing mark. I think that is going to come kind of as a shock to the system getting to March with the temperatures below normal when we have been consistently 10, 15, sometimes 20 degrees above normal the last 4 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So we need to be prepared for it to be quite chilly once again.
Yes. We will. It could take a while to dig I shouldn't say dig because we're talking about snow. It could take a while for us to really break into those 60s and 70s in the spring air here. Maybe towards the later part of the month, that last week of March, we could do so. So that is Snow Search for today. Sean, what have you been searching for over the past week? And you've been traveling too, so you might have, I don't know, anything from your travels?
Searching good flights. I was in Kansas City for the National Weather Association annual in-person board meeting with some wonderful meteorologists from across the Weather and Climate Enterprise, from Vegas to Florida to Alabama, and kind of coming together with some nice ideas of how we want to grow the National Weather Association. And we're going to have our annual meeting for the whole group in Kansas City as well. That's coming up later this summer in early fall. So looking forward to that.
Very cool. And the barbecue must be good too.
You know, I had some surprisingly good barbecue turkey. I normally think of barbecue, you're thinking brisket, you're thinking about pulled pork, which I love. But you know what? I just kind of had this hankering for some smoked barbecue turkey. Really, really good. I mean, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, maybe I should search for some barbecue turkey then, maybe. No, my real search here is actually a recap in a bow on top of last week's Snow Search. I said I couldn't find any ShopRite brand Greek yogurt, which we eat a lot. There's a lot of yogurt in our house. But I went to Lidl, that German food store chain, and they had Lidl brand Greek yogurt, which was fantastic because I don't want to spend $1.50 for one container of Greek yogurt. Sean, you know what I'm saying? There's other things I got to pay for in this world. So
I understand exactly what you're saying.
74 cents. It was great. And that is the end of my yogurt saga for now.
Awesome.
All right. So we will wrap it up here. We will come back to you soon with another Snow Search. And in the meanwhile, Sean, we have our Across the Sky podcast, which you can check out every Monday, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to subscribe. And we talk about forensic meteorology. So we like to show different parts of meteorology because while we love what we're doing and we appreciate you all watching, there are more aspects to meteorology than working in news, and we like to highlight them. So we have Sherilyn Patrick. She is the Director of Forensic Services for WeatherWorks. Basically, she works on lawsuits. If you slipped and fell outside that little store, might have to go to court, and that's where the forensic meteorologist comes in to say, was it icy or not? So good episode.
Insurance claims and all that stuff.
Yes,
you bet, man.
Yes, all the good stuff. So you can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. For Sean Sublet at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, I'm Joe Martucci at the Press of Atlantic City. Thank you again for watching Snow Search.